Hi and welcome to our program. Today we are visiting the exhibition Gender and Identity with Asbjørn Krag, one of the photographers. Let's check it out. Hi Asbjørn.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
So what is this exhibition about?
This exhibition was put together by Uge18, the cultural house here, and I was invited to exhibit some of my photos about gender and identity. Okay. It is made in collaboration with Kulturmagasinet and their festival about revolution. Mm-hmm. So Uge18 put together a photo exhibition about identity and gender in general.
Mm-hmm. And how many photographers or artists participated?
We are 4 artists exhibiting in here.
Because it's not only photography, there's also 3D.
Yeah, there's also
animation.
some animation work, I think you would call it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. So, how did you get involved in this exhibition?
Well, I'm actually pretty close with this place. I've been here for 4 years or something like that. I've been working here, and I've been a member of the board and stuff like that. So Malene, who's the curator of this exhibition, was talking about it, and she wanted to do an exhibition where she could incorporate me. So I think I was actually one of the first artists that she asked. Mm-hmm. And we, spent some time talking about it and brainstorming on what would be interesting and what would be relevant to talk about in this context.
Mm-hmm. So did you, when she proposed this to you, did you already know the topic? Or did you also work around that?
I mean, I think she invited me because I'm already working a lot with identity in the first place. That's generally how my work goes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what type of photography do you usually work with?
I mean, I mostly do portrait photography. I have done some other types of photography as well, but I think art photography and portrait photography is probably the thing that I like doing the most. Yeah.
And why is that?
I don't know. It's just, I think it's very interesting to work with people and not only just take a photo of them, but take a portrait of them, representing who they are. I think it's very interesting.
So your process is not go straight for straight ahead to the portrait itself? Do you brainstorm before? How is that?
I mean, it can be a little bit different. Sometimes it's just very, you have an idea, you talk with the model about it, and then you do that thing. And then maybe it's going to turn out how you want it, and maybe it's going to turn out differently. Okay. And then sometimes it's having an aesthetic in mind, or having some kind of purpose in mind, and then you figure it out as you go along. Because sometimes, things just happen when you take photos and you get ideas and the lighting looks cool here and stuff like that. So sometimes it's just a natural process, and sometimes it's very meticulously planned out.
Mm-hmm. And what about the models that you photographed? There are 5 models, right?
Yeah, 5 models. Yeah.
So did you pick them knowing the topics that you were going to work with? did like how did it happen? Did people come to you?
I mean, it was me who chose who I wanted to photograph. Both because I wanted to photograph somebody I knew already, because I think that makes it easier to make something that's a little bit more intimate.
Okay.
And maybe something that's a little bit more like under the skin.
Okay. What do you mean by under the skin?
I mean, I don't want to photograph facades. I want to photograph people as I think they are.
Okay.
And I think that's easier with somebody I know. It's more comfortable to do that. And then I also picked people. So it's people I know, and then I wanted to pick people that represented a diversity of ethnic background, of sexuality, and of gender identity, as much as I could, because it's only 5 people and it's people I know, so
Yeah.
that makes it a little bit difficult. But I think it worked out pretty well. And then from there, it's just a lot of conversations about identity, and it's me, getting an idea or getting an aesthetic in mind, and then formulating that into like some kind of description, and then sending that to them, and then we talk about like what do they think about that, and maybe there's something we should change a little bit. How do they feel about that, representing them visually? Yeah.
So usually you already had an idea, kind of what you wanted with them, and then you just brainstorm until you reach the final product.
Because it's like it's 2 people are part of this. So there's the person that I am trying to portray, and then there's me as an artist who has a specific aesthetic or a specific style.
Okay.
So it is like a combination of those 2 things. So in that way, I am a part of the photos too. So that's why it needs to be a conversation. It needs to be a dialogue. I wasn't really interested in, getting a crazy idea and then hiring a model and then doing that, and then them just being like a mannequin for that. I don't think that's so interesting.
Yeah. So more genuine. You're looking for something more authentic.
Yeah, more personal.
Okay. Okay. Do you find that it's a bit hard to find people, because being authentic, it's very vulnerable?
Yeah.
Do you find that it's a bit hard for people to open up about that? Like, and because, well, this is very public. Let's say it's not only a conversation. Like, there's actually their bodies and their faces attached to the image that they want to pass. Do you feel like it's hard to find people that are up for this?
I don't think it's hard, but I think there's a limited number of people who want to do that and who are comfortable with doing that. And I think all of the people who are exhibited here are very extroverted people.
Okay.
And Ella, who's hanging here, has also worked as a model beforehand. Okay. So I think, some people would not be very comfortable with doing that. So there is like a certain group of people who wants to do that and thinks that's interesting. But I don't think it's hard, because, Okay.
And do you feel like it can condition you as a photographer? Like sometimes you have this really powerful image or something like this, but then you cannot find the right person. Do you feel like it conditions you somehow?
No, I don't think that makes it more difficult for me. Because I think the images that I get in my head are not very concrete. Like they're not very specific. It's it's a lot more about aesthetic and emotion. And then I feel like different people can fill in that role.
Okay.
Because for me, it's more about, the most important thing is emotional honesty, and not like, I'm not trying to say like, this is exactly how a person is. I'm trying to represent it through an aesthetic and through emotion. So in more of like an abstract manner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? Like, how do you imagine this emotion that you want to pass, and you can actually take a picture out of it?
That's a very good question. I think there is, like, in all artistry, and I think in a lot of field, there is, intuition. So that would probably be the amalgamation of all, like, art that I've seen, and film, and all kinds of other stuff that just gets, jumbled around in my head, and then suddenly something pops up.
Okay.
And I don't know where that comes from, but I think the thing about intuition is that you can't really question it. Like, you have to trust it. It's a leap of faith. And then the more you do that, the more you trust your intuition, the better your intuition is going to be at telling you things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you now, like, if you feel like that has been there always, or was it more like a process also, like the intuition, like how you read it and...
Yeah, you get better, like, at intuition. Like, it's a skill you train, like using a camera, and creativity is also a skill that you train.
Yeah.
So I think it's always there. I think it's always been there since I was a child, but it's like a process of developing it and becoming better at using it, better at listening to it, and then it develops and becomes more complicated and specific. And that's how, I think that's how you create your own, like, style and things. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then maybe we can start going through...
Yeah, for sure.
the pictures.
Yeah. So this is Ella. And I think Ella is probably the person that I think Ella is probably the person I know the least personally.
Okay.
I met her, like, in November because I was asking around if anybody wanted to do photo shoots so I could practice. And then her sister told me to write Ella. And then we set up, like, a meeting and a photo shoot. And she had worked as a model for quite some time. I think it was like fashion or something like that. Okay. But she had been a little bit bored with it because it's, like, very mannequin-ish. Like, it's very natural. You are, like, you have to put on some certain clothes and look like natural. And then when she got, like, piercings and tattoos, they asked her to hide those and stuff like that. So
That's not nice.
we just, decided to do whatever we wanted back then. And it turned out to be really fun, and she's very, very talented. She knows exactly what to do, which made it very fun and also challenging for me as a photographer. And then when I was thinking about this exhibition, I just got an idea, like, out of nowhere almost, of, like, an aesthetic. And then I got the feeling that she would like that kind of aesthetic. I didn't really know. So I just wrote her.
So that was like the second photo shoot that you did with her?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wrote her if this was something she liked and could see herself in. And then she just immediately replied that she loved it. So we just went with it.
Okay. So was this kind of your original idea?
Yeah.
Or
there was a couple of ideas.
Okay.
So I think for many of these series, there are, like, different kinds of shoots that we did. So I did 3 different ones with Ella. The reason I chose this is because I feel like that's the most potent one. Okay. And I feel like that's the one she seemed to gravitate the most towards.
Okay.
So we did some variations, and we did some other shoots, completely different ones, that are not exhibited here.
Okay. So what are you trying to pass with this specific idea that you chose with the model?
See, that's where it gets complicated because I'm visual, very visual person. I'm best at communicating visually. And again, like, what I'm communicating is a lot more based on abstract things. and emotions and aesthetics and atmospheres. So it's not necessarily a symbol that I'm showing. It's not a metaphor. It's just some kind of like feeling or emotion, and then her as a person. So I think it's more of like a photo that you take in instead of like trying to analyze how it looks. But I think this conveys a lot of power in some way. I think it's very powerful imagery. Also because of her, because she looks fucking badass. And I feel like there's also a regal kind of feeling to it, like some kind of royalty to it, especially in that image, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Even though she's naked, she's like...
Yeah. It's so I think that's the closest I can get to it. But for me, I'm like, it's not about like words and trying to describe exactly what it is. That's where I fall short as an artist.
Well, these for sure don't fall short, so that is cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, wow. And how did she feel about this idea and the others? Was this also the one that she liked the best?
I mean, yeah, like from the beginning, she seemed to gravitate most towards like it's liquid latex.
Yeah, that seems a bit dirty.
Yeah. It was difficult to work with, I would say. But she was very patient and very professional. Was
it your first time using this type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We didn't know how it worked, and it was hard. It was hard to get off. So yeah.
To get off.
Yeah. Because we thought it was just gonna peel off.
Yeah.
Nope. It was just there. So she spent some time, and she was very patient about it. And then we figured out that it was just like hot water and soap was gonna help it a lot. And then eventually, we managed to get it off. So we know that for the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the backgrounds are all different in the pictures. Was there any particular reason for that, or it just felt like, for instance, for me, the red is very like royalty, as you mentioned. So this totally goes along with the idea that you mentioned before. But yeah, was it for another reason, or?
No, I just feel like, again, it's about aesthetic and it's about intuition. Like this was the image that I, got stuck in my head, and it was also inspired by some other photographers that I've seen. And then I wanted to do something similar. And it's kind of funny when, when I see something that I really like and I try to replicate it, I don't know how to replicate it. But I end up with something not even that similar, but like I end up somewhere else. So it can be great to use like ideas and inspirations from somewhere else, and then try to like figure out how do I want to do this, and then maybe that completely changes when you are on set and you're actually taking the photos. So it's like constantly changing throughout the process.
So is usually your starting point another photographer's work or something that inspired you? Like, do you brainstorm with yourself or something before? Like,
I don't brainstorm per se, but sometimes I'm just looking at photographers that I admire, and then maybe some idea will pop up, and maybe I think it's always inspiration. It's just whether or not I remember it. So yeah, but I have some photographers and some photography sites that I like looking at and like being inspired by. Not necessarily wanting to like replicate what they do, but like liking the atmosphere and like the emotion it's giving off, and then trying to like figure out, okay, how can I do that? How are they doing that effectively, and how can I communicate what I want to, as powerfully as they are able to do.
Cool. Maybe you can go to the next one.
Yeah.
So how did this happen?
So this is Daniel. Daniel is my oldest friend. we have known each other for 20 years or
Wow.
something like that. So since we were like very small kids.
That is really sweet.
Yeah. And we are, we're still best friends. He lives here in Aarhus and is working as a cultural entrepreneur. A lot with events and stuff like that. He just finished Chaos Pilot.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've been talking about doing something like this for a long time. Because, I love photographing him. And he has been on a little bit of a journey throughout the last couple of years where he's been like discovering or like going into finding out about his roots. Because his mother is from Nigeria.
Okay.
And he's had a big interest in like figuring out stuff about that and learning about it, and has been very like it's been in this discovery phase, and I think it's been so like I don't know, like beautiful to watch him go through that process. And then we've talked a lot about like how can we work with this? How can we make this into a photography series? There's been some long conversations about like identity, how do we want to do it, how do we not want to do it, and stuff like that. And then initially when we picked out this skirt and this jewelry and stuff like that, we were a little bit like, might be like too on the nose, or like too like, yeah, it's just not fitting right. But then when he put it on and we started taking photos, we were just like, yeah, this is it. Like this is exactly what we wanted to do. So I think these turned out like amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so you have photographed him before?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Because he's a pretty man.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course that really helps with the vulnerability and everything. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And how did he feel about these?
It was such a great shoot. Like we just had fun, and he felt very comfortable doing it, and yeah, it was just a great shoot.
That is so nice.
Yeah.
Also the green, is it related or? I
mean, so this actually has a little bit of meaning.
Okay.
Both because like I just like the colors of these images. Like I think they complement each other very well. The skirt and with his skin. But also I feel like this green is in a very similar way vein to the Nigerian flag, which is green, white, green, I think.
Makes sense. Wow. And what about the poses? Like, did you also talked about it before? Like, was it something that was like stuck in your mind as with this one?
I mean, I feel in general with poses, that is not something I usually plan out.
Oh, okay.
Because posing is kind of difficult. Because if you're very, very good as a model, then yeah, you can pull it off and make it look natural. But then most people I photograph, like if I ask them to stand in a very specific way, it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to feel unnatural. So it's usually just, I mean, we just try out different stuff, and then I photograph, people just being and then doing stuff, and then that's how we end up with this. And this is actually kind of funny because he was sitting like this, and then he got a cramp in his ankle, I think. So this is actually him cramping up. And I took this photo just like out of instinct, and then it turned out to be one of the best ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that one is the one that I like the best.
Yeah.
And it seems very vulnerable also.
Yeah. And that's the whole like gist of this exhibition is also vulnerability. I think that's very important. And it's usually like whether I want to or not, that's usually what I end up with. Because that's what I gravitate towards.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, because it seemed like clearly not staged, because the picture itself is very natural, but it seemed like it's the most powerful one of everything. So I would say that it was something that you had in your head before, and to know that it was just a cramp, it's really funny.
Yeah, that's usually like sometimes that's how the best, photos are created. Like it's just random, like something happens and you just have to take the photo. So yeah, I couldn't have imagined this.
Yeah.
Because I haven't like seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
Thank you.
That was it for today. Thank you so much for staying with us. See you next time.
Ungdomsradio. 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 Ungdomsradio.